basketball. Went out west after taking Michigan State to overtime last time they were in this building. So back-to-back matchups against top 10 teams here at home. Zerno with the ball, also back in the starting lineup after coming off the bench the last 4. Freshman Caden Powers steps back. He had a massive first half at UCLA, and he sticks a triple.
Well, he's coming off a career-high 18 points, and again, a lot of what he's doing is just catch and shoot, but getting involved early in the offense is good.
And Hoiberg, the lane opened wide, and he is hurt. And they're going to stop this.
A little tight down on the baseline, and you can just see that's where he rolled it a little bit.
Stay in the basketball game. Hoiberg coming off a 13-point, 6-assist outing with 6 rebounds. And a loss to Illinois at home last weekend. Zerno. Ugel is fouled by Dylan. Rutgers defensively over the time with Steve Peichel. That has been the calling card. That has been a struggle the last couple of seasons. Certainly this year as well. Great Mask with the floater in the lane and an early 4-3 lead.
But all that is a little short roll to the soft area right below the free throw line. So many people, bigs that want to pop, that happens, but you take advantage of that opportunity. And that's exactly what Ring Mask did there by finding the soft spot.
He missed his first 8 shots last weekend. Powers, the aggression early. You mentioned the career-high 18. They were all in the first half.
But he was ultra aggressive in that first half. Then the second half got away from this Rutgers team. That first half, they stuck with UCLA a little bit, but overall, just a big part of them getting off to a good start. And that's a big part for Nebraska to getting off to a good start is Rick Mask banging threes. He needs to do that for a variety of reasons. 1, for his confidence, but 2, for the spacing on the offensive side for Nebraska.
Dylan Grant trying to drive right at him. Loose rebound, and Mask has it. And you talked about that in the pregame with Dave Redson. That Rick Mask the last 6 games, just 18% from 3.
Yeah, and it's really hurt the spacing for Nebraska. There you see Sam Hoiberg drive, but again, when you have so many shooters on the floor, you're gonna have driving lanes. That's why this Nebraska team's so hard to guard.
And they have not missed a shot here in the first 2.5 minutes. 4 for 4 to open this ball game. Huskers started the season 20-0. They are top 10 for a program record 5th straight. Darren Buchanan Jr. just a 57% free throw shooter on the season. It's on this end of the floor, though. Nebraska so far has been unstoppable. Mask hits off the iron. Francis Skies. Been a good start here, at least for Rutgers, to get someone else scoring, right? Tariq Francis has been so much of the offense off the bench. He hadn't taken a shot yet here in the first 3 minutes of this ballgame. Powers steps back. Sandfort has the board for Nebraska. And you talked about that at the outset. They didn't rebound well at Michigan or at home against Illinois.
No, they were all rebounded by 12 in those last 2 games, and that's what they've got to do. Great cut there by Lawrence. Just understanding Rutgers, if you
interested in finding out how they handle losing games back-to-back.
I think the start that they've gotten to here is pretty good. Now, defensively, they need to tighten up a little bit against this Rutgers team. Realize, turn this Rutgers team into an isolation team. That's what their habit has been in the half court. See if you can continue to do that.
Michael Davis on the floor for the first time. Bryce George checked in to Dylan Grant. First shot attempt for Francis, and he drills a 3. The instant bucket hits his first.
Well, and that's the question was going to be, what does Francis do coming, normally off the bench, now starting. When he started, he averages 11.5. Coming off the bench, he averages 20 points.
Back to Hoiberg. Sandfort's first attempt, and that rattles through. Huskers 5 for 6 to start, and that is make number 78 on the year, which is the best in the conference.
And just the movement that he has is what makes him so tough to guard.
Pulls down the board as well. You like action, you like pace, you like points. You got the right spot for the first 4.5 minutes.
This action right there, the DHO with Rick Mask coming off the top. They've gotten away from that a little bit the last couple of games. It creates a lot of great opportunities offensively for Nebraska.
So that crowd wanted to travel. Instead, they look at a 3. Davis clears. Stops above the line, rolls out. Steve Peichel told his team he wants them to be aggressive. I don't know he wants them to stop 18 feet from the basket, though.
Well, the toughest thing is how early in the offense that comes. Yes, play fast, get some fast break points, but understand when.
Nash draws the foul. They wave off the basket.
It's little things. Nebraska's played two really good teams. They lost. Both were very close games. There, I would love to see Rick Mass not, absorb that contact and don't fade away there. That's why that shot right there is short.
Trip to the ER when you're that sick will certainly, he thought he had appendicitis because he was having all the pain in his stomach from consistent vomiting. He's had some time to get some weight back, get his health back. And Tariq Francis with his second bucket. And starting this ball game today for the first time in 6 weeks, it is a different feel.
It is a different feel, but the game is still the same. A simple shot fake creates space, and with the space, he's able to get Frager off his feet and then go and score the basketball.
Bryce George commits the foul underneath the basket.
But the simplicity of the game, you work, you get to your spot, shot fake, you get Frager up, now all of a sudden you've got space. That way of scoring the basketball for Friends, he's so good. He's got the herky-jerk in him. He's able to get defenders up off the ground.
George with the block. Rutgers trying to push. Buchanan into the front court. High off the glass to tie the game at 14. And an offensive foul.
Lawrence is the first screener in what's a double screen. He's trying to get the body, but he's moving, and that's why the foul's called on him. You have the second screener. You're trying to get a piece, but you can't get a foul.
Pryce Sandfort against Illinois on Sunday got off to such a great start. Really couldn't get looks in the second half. And topic of conversation this week, Buchanan stepped in way long. Dale Jacobson on the floor along with Frager. They've gone to the bench here early in this ballgame. Nash thought there was help. He waited a sec. He bought some time and he put it in.
Hey, and I love a good shot fake. Like, I'm probably the guy that made me the happiest of shot fake. He didn't need the shot fake though. But that made me happy.
You muscle memory, right?
Absolutely, yeah,
whether you
correct.
need it or
Yes,
not, you
for
practice
sure.
10,000
For sure.
times.
Absolutely. Well, it's not like Rink Mass is a great athlete. Now he's a very good athlete, but there's a difference. Get 24.5 points from their freshmen. So you're relying a lot on young players to learn quick. The Big Ten's a really hard league to learn in, and you're going to have some ups and downs. But they're playing, like you said, bad second half against UCLA, but they're playing really good. There's an offensive foul as well, screening. But in general, what Rutgers has done, I think they're doing a better job. You can see their freshmen, they're understanding how their scoring opportunities are going to come within the flow of their offense. Defensively, they're getting better. They need to be better. They're getting better. And it's knowing how you're going to play for 40 minutes with the consistency that's expected.
Well, not turning the ball over. That offensive foul is their first turnover. And Hoiberg had to take it away. The freshman, Chris Woolley. And they wanted a foul. Instead, it's a 3-on-2 Nebraska break. Hoiberg pulled up for three. And Tariq Francis put... Very experienced group today, Final Four group. Here this afternoon with Paul Sells, Brian Dorsey, and Earl Walton. Newton Gel caught it in the lane and finished to Nebraska up 2.
And really, those short rolls have been there early on in this game for Nebraska's bigs.
It feels like a moment here of adversity, right? Rutgers have gotten a lead.
And they need to take care of the basketball.
Ole came off the bench. Those long arms pulled down the rebound. 2-point Huskers lead. They started this ball game 4 for 4. Been struggling from the floor since. Cerno throwing it away again. 3 straight possessions. Sandfort on the other end, and he finishes. And to your point, that is 3 consecutive giveaways.
And you need to. We've just talked about Nebraska last 2 games. They've struggled on the defensive glass. You got to get a shot, so at least you give yourself a chance to get set on the offensive side, and then defensively gives you a chance to get set.
Tingel ripped it away. That was a great box out.
And now you look at defensively, at least Rutgers is set there versus the turnover. Now Nebraska's running. That's tough to guard against, especially against this Nebraska team.
Prager on the drive. Great footwork. Just couldn't finish.
When he wanted to get back to that left hand, and he did. He got in there. You just talked about the footwork, but it's the ball fake to come back to the footwork. Just misses it.
Francis got it back. Thought about the three. Took the three. Bad decision. Ball still loose and foul.
Starting lineup, who's going to come off that bench and give them a jolt when they need that? I think that's something to monitor as well.
At this point, they have not had a bench point. Francis, Powers, and Buchanan have scored all 16 here for the Scarlet Knights. 4 to shoot. Francis stepped inside the arc. It hit every part of the rim and fell down.
And good patience there by Rutgers, getting multiple sides of the floor. The skip pass to Francis.
Are so reliant on the three-point shot, but when they get to the line, they're a 76% free throw shooting team.
Absolutely, and I think that's the biggest thing now. Rutgers, you were at practice. We talked with Coach Pryce. That's all they talked about. Get them off the line. Get them off the line. Double dribble there by Rutgers. But defensively, you can see Rutgers against this Nebraska team saying, we got to get them off the line. Now, that secondary defender for Rutgers needs to be there because Nebraska's eating in the paint.
Zerno back in. The offense has hit a major roadblock here.
Well,
5 turnovers.
I was just going to say, it's the
all the
turnovers
last 3.5 minutes.
Rutgers. And you have to take care of the basketball. If you're going to beat this Nebraska team who's really good, you have to make sure you take care of the ball.
Last on the bench for the Cornhuskers.
It's another too good at fighting over the top, getting the shoulder, and then if they feel contact, they're going to fall down.
So Tingel to the bench with 2 fouls. Dylan Grant has been on the bench for Rutgers after 3 minutes into this game with 2 fouls. Buchanan just kind of threw it at the rim and it went down. He's got 8 early points. Bole got his hand on it and they will count it. Well, she did not. So count the bucket. Neither team so far here in this ball game has had a run of more than 4. So back and forth the whole way. Powers for 3. You think of the way Nebraska, Buchanan is down back behind the play. Rutgers is playing with 4 and the officials haven't seen it. They have an offensive player down, and now they finally blow the whistle on the bench.
Well, and he's had a really good first half for this team. I mean, you just look at what he's done. 8 points. He's been the offense for him.
Rink Mast inside off the inbounds. 9 for Mast.
There's an end line out of bounds where Rutgers just loses Mast. And that's been this thing with this Rutgers team defensively. They've been good for time, but they haven't been good for long durations. There's been those mental errors that happen. And that's what happens with young teams.
Grant trying to drive. Sam Hoiberg is right there in the right spot again. And then Powers knocked it off Jacobson's knee. 2 games.
Well, and I think you look at that in general, where everyone's at, and just having everyone there in Chicago this year is going to be awesome. I think it's the right decision as well when you just look at how this is. Every season, you want to end it with a chance. And I don't think the bottom couple teams are going to win their way to a Big Ten championship, but you're giving hope. I think that's what's great about college basketball.
And nobody thought NC State would go from what they did in the
Absolutely.
ACC tournament all the way to the Final Four.
So you're giving everybody a chance.
Yep.
Exactly.
Part of the beauty of March Madness. And Nebraska this year is set to be such a massive part of it. And what a storyline they will be wherever they go in the NCAA tournament. Ranked Mast bullies his way. He's got double figures in the first half.
Well, Jacobson just sets a cross screen, a great ATO there by Nebraska coming out of it, a cross screen to bring Rink right to the front of the rim. There's not enough ball pressure by Rutgers, so the interior passing is there, and then Rink is able to finish. And as you said, 10 points early on in this, Rink Mast, or 11, excuse me, to get him so involved after kind of a slow last 5 games for him. Really important for this Nebraska team.
Drake Francis hit his first 3 shots. He has now missed his last 5.
And for Francis, where do you find the rhythm? How do you get that? To me, I've said it a lot, but it's about getting easy baskets for this Rutgers team to kind of get them going.
Lawrence, the New Jersey native, sticks his second 3.
And I just said this at the break today. So these last 3 minutes feel very important for Rutgers to stay into this game. Hasn't scored in the last 3-some minutes.
It was a 4-point game for the better part of the half. Is now that 13-point deficit, make it 10. Drake Francis has 10 in the half as well. Jacobson driving on Powers, blocked by Dortch, and he saved it. Into the front court, a little spurt, and Powers lost it on the way up. You felt that energy, but they haven't really able to put back-to-back possessions.
That's what it is. I thought that Powers drive might be there, but loses it on the way up. And now Nebraska has it. So can Rutgers guard for the next 15 seconds here and get us another stop?
The other part for Nebraska here is Sandfort goes to work down low. You look at he and Frager in this ballgame, they only have 9 combined here in the first half. And yet they have been able to play in front the whole half.
Well, yeah, and you look at 19 from Mast and Lawrence. So that's why this depth of this Nebraska team as well is so tough.
Now, the balance they have. Buchanan is back in the game after leaving early. Left that short. As we're in the final minute here of this first half. 9th-ranked Huskers. Sandfort pulls up. Total, but today it's been a different story. You made that out. They've had so much inside.
Well, and you can tell it's been a focus. There's been interior screening to get Rick Mass open, and the driving ability of the guards. You saw Sandfort get to the paint on that last drive as well.
Plenty of time on the shot clock. Buchanan's doubled. And Hoiberg with another steal. That is 8 Rutgers turnovers, all in the final 12 minutes of this first half. They didn't have one the first 8 minutes.
Yeah, a team that only averages 10.
Huskers gonna hold for the final shot. It's Mast along the baseline, floats it in. A solid first half.
And Michigan, those are 2 really good teams at crashing the glass, but that's the way that, this Rutgers team really does need to try to, find ways to score the basketball.
Evole starts the second half. He came off the bench in the game, and right away, 7 seconds in, Aaron Buchanan Jr. picks up his second foul. To see him back on the floor. Buchanan went to the locker room with about 8 minutes to go in the half. Awkwardly, just kind of holding what looked like his groin area. Nothing happened in terms of collision or anything like that. He went back to the locker room, didn't come back late in the first half. Sandfort right away hits a 3.
Well, it was just an in screen to be able to bring Pryce back out for 3. And if you're Rutgers, you can't lose him. You know what he does. He leads the league as far as 3-pointers made. Like, you can't lose him.
He is now up to 79 threes on the year. 6th most Nebraska history in a single season. Powers with an answer. He had 5 early points first 2 minutes, but then he didn't score the rest of the half.
Again, that goes back just to being young and trying to know what the role is and follow your role and expand upon it.
Good help there from Obole. He left Hoiberg alone at the top of the arc. He buries a 3. Double figures for a 7th straight game.
And that's the tough thing. We've talked about what Rutgers does as far as, how the 3rd worst as far as the Big Ten goes is, 3-point percentage. And there's 2 wide open looks for Nebraska.
Zerno off the quick pass. Those are his first points. So here's the thing. Rutgers offensively is having a solid start to the second half. But you're down 14 to start the half. You can't trade buckets.
Well, you can't trade buckets, and just defensively, you need to be locked in.
Slip from Mast, rolled off, so they do get a stop. First back to Zerno. Can he make it back to back?
That would have been good for this Rutgers offense, just to kind of get that stop offensively, what they've been doing. You know what he wants to do. He wants to. There he goes underneath the screen, and lucky, and it stays here.
Some shots here early in the second half. That was a struggle last week, right off the inbound. That is the third time.
I was just going to say, and it's been the same action. It's been the screen, and then it's been the big dive to the block. And Rick Mast has been able to get that 3 different times, Juice.
Well, and you know, as a big, I mean, he doesn't pull the ball down. He catches it, he keeps it high, and puts it right up.
Exactly. When you're not a super great athlete, now Rick Mast is an athlete. I'm not saying he's not, but when you're not a super great athlete, you find ways to create different opportunities. There's another steal by Sam Hoiberg.
That is his 4th swipe of the game. He has had one heck of a well-rounded afternoon. Sam Hoiberg, 10 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals. And what he loves the most is a 16-point lead. Bowers got Butengel on his heels, and he is starting to really come into his own.
Yes, absolutely. And you look at it, just the growth, and I think that's the one thing that Coach Peichel does. And you hope some of these freshmen stick around long enough within the program, because the development that Coach Peichel and his staff do for these players is huge. And you look at a guy like Caleb.
Have been the two that have highlighted the class maybe more than others so far here in their first seasons. Lino Mark was playing well in Los Angeles the last 2 games, but he is out today with a back injury. Buchanan. Huskers led by 14 at the break. They're up by 16, and Hoiberg makes it 19. Has really blossomed from where he came on a few years ago, where he had to play because of injuries, and now he is a main part. Today he is tied a career high with 3 triples.
Well, and you talk about the shooting, but he's first in the nation as far as assist to turnover ratio with a 5.9 to 1. The way that he rebounds the ball at the guard spot, he does everything for this team without ever needing the ball.
Yep. Great ball movements. Arun Cerno knocks in a 3, and then a big fist pump, right? I mean, they haven't had enough consistency all year. They're looking for anything to get them going out of a timeout.
Now can they get enough stops? I mean, that's been the question on the defensive end. There's nothing forced with Sam Hoiberg, and I think that's the thing that I watch as a player. Like, you want to play with the Sam Hoiberg because you know everything that he does, he's going to make the right play. He's going to make the right play for the team. And there you saw Rutgers go into his zone, and Pryce Sandfort drill the 3. That's why it's tough to guard this Nebraska team with the way that they shoot it from 3. You go zone, now all of a sudden, the liability you have is from the 3-point line, and Nebraska makes you pay again.
You would have thought first half, hey, Rutgers felt like they did a good job. He was 1 of 4 from beyond the arc. Sandfort has now hit 2 threes here in the second half, and now up to 80 on the season, which is tied for 5th most in a single year in Huskers history. And he is approaching that record. He's going to break it. He's only 9 away from tying the all-time mark, Kerry Cochran, back in 2002. And the pace that he's been going, I mean, he may break that in the next week.
I mean, literally over the last 6 games, he's averaging 21.5, shoot 46% from 3. I mean, just 5 straight 20-point. Again, the growth, the development of all these guys, and how he's continued to do it. It's fun. I mean, he's taken that leap like his brother took at the same time as what he's done.
Yeah, his junior season.
Yes, absolutely.
Tried the extra pass there for Butengel. Turnaround jumper. It's a 19-point game here with 14 minutes to go. Buchanan, Lawrence got his hand in there. A lot of contact, no whistle. Extra move, that went off of Lawrence's shoulder all the way across. And Cerno threw it to no one.
But it's the scramble defense of Nebraska that forces this. Now, there was a lot of long skip passes, which forced long closeouts, but Nebraska was there on every closeout. Most teams, at some point, there's a breakdown. This Nebraska team, there isn't. They're helping for each other, and that's why they are as good as they are.
And you pointed this out earlier, you know, this new era of college basketball, the changing landscape. They have a lot of players, not everyone, but a lot of players who have worn that uniform for 2, 3, 4 seasons. And now, again, not that anyone expected them to.
Your guys finally believe. Because when you're in a great season, there's always a moment, and he, you know, went back to that at Illinois with the game winner. But there has to be a moment where the group believes they're as good as what the record says. And this group finally had that moment at Illinois, and then you saw them continue to do it. I would have really loved to see a healthy squad against Michigan and against Illinois, because I think the results are a little bit different in what they're able to do, and the conversation's a little bit different. But there's a great 3 by Zerno. But in general, now this team has a great opportunity in front of them to continue to win games there. There's a big game against Purdue coming up, and then you've got a stretch that you try to stack wins and you'll get to that 2 seed in the NCAA tournament and see what happens.
George was standing on the end line when he caught the rebound, so it'll go back to Nebraska.
And I think the last piece, Jason, is this team hasn't won an NCAA tournament game. Like this program. That to me is what, you know, obviously what they're doing in Big Ten play. Finish this off, see if you can get some help from some teams and, you know, get a share of the Big Ten title, win it outright. Like, you're going to have some help. But in general, play extremely well and see how deep of a run. But this team can make an extremely deep run in the NCAA tournament.
Sandfort turned the corner and a beautiful find, and Buchtingel with the finish.
It's just the way they share the ball. Like, it's just fun basketball to watch.
Turner with the ball in his hands, did not score in the first half, and he's fouled.
2 points in the paint, and you could tell there was a concerted effort to get the ball in the paint early, and they did that. And then when you do that, now all of a sudden you can build out. And I think, what did you learn from the last 2 games? We need to get to the paint a little bit more, because that gives us more space to be able to run what we need to do, and that's what they've executed. And that's, I think, the other thing with this team is that you can tell they're extremely coachable. And I think that's a big part right now in college basketball, is having teams that are so coachable.
Well, it's also on the defensive end, right? That when they made the tournament a couple years ago, they are not quite as good defensively. That's been a different story. They have been a much better defensive team this season. Now, for the first time today, they lead by 20. Well, Huskers up 61-41 as we approach 12 to go.
And it's only Frager's 4th point, and they still have 61. So that's when you look at where you're getting and who's contributing to this team. It's very tough. They're very tough to prepare for, because you can't just pick out a guy and say, we need to stop this guy.
High floater, Dylan Grant's bucket.
Target where you're able to finish and catch right away. And this team, again, like I said, averaging 18 assists, 15th in the nation, and what they're able to do. And again, you're seeing it here this afternoon.
Jacobson in the ball game, 4 different scores in double figures this afternoon for Nebraska. Sandfort, one of them. Under 5 to shoot. Frager. A rebound for Rutgers to finally get a couple of defensive stops. They need to get something going. Their offense has been better here in the second half, but the lead has grown from 14 to 18.
I think that's been the toughest thing with Rutgers, is defensively, can you get enough stops? There's great drive there by Powers, and again, you can see his growth throughout the year. Now, can they stack defensive stops and try to get this thing to where you can make a run? They did it against USC, so they've just recently have gone through this thing. Now, can they continue to get enough stops on this end? Make it difficult. Straight line drives are tough, but good contest there by Powers.
And Hoiberg is back behind the play, so Rutgers has some numbers. Powers the extra pass. Now Hoiberg gets back onto the defensive set. Grant, and he's fouled.
Well, it's really tough to do that when you have an unselfish team that's making the right play. And when you talk about 19 on 23, they're making the right play. And on top of that, only 5 turnovers.
They only average 9 on the season. Also towards the top. Again, how do you get to 20-0? How do you get top 10 in the country? All these numbers. Sandfort for 3. So they got the stops. 10-minute mark halfway through the second half. Can they make it dent? Powers, and Dortch wasn't ready for it.
And Powers had a great little head fake to be able to create the driving lane. And even though he's looking for Dortch on that pass, you're in the paint, play off 2 feet, go up and score the basketball.
Instead, it's the 13th turnover for Rutgers. Nebraska had 13 points in the first half. He has only scored 2 here in the second half. Oh, he floated that in.
But that's why it's so important for this Nebraska team. We've talked a lot, but Illinois, Michigan, much taller bodies down there. I get that. But the ability to, when things aren't necessarily going, or you've got, you've hit a little bit of a stretch where you haven't been able to score, throw that ball in the post. Get a nice post move by Ringmass. Score the 2 points. Stop the run.
Grant stopped at the free throw line. Hit it. All 7 points for Dylan Grant have come here in the second half. All of Harun Zerno's points have come here in the second half, and it's a 13-point game. And for the first time in the second half, the crowd's showing some life. Double on Sandfort. They were ready for him to shoot. This time they got the bigger body of Obole, and it didn't matter.
But that's the patience, and that's when things aren't going what you want. Having the escape of going to the block, and a player like Ringmass who can slow down the game and still score is huge.
Buchanan on the answer on the drive. Darren Buchanan into double figures with 10. Frager takes it right at him off the break. Mast, and his positioning was perfect. Working on Obole over the right shoulder. And that rolled in.
And Rutgers is doing what they need to do. They're taking away the 3. It's just Ringmass is taking over right now.
He has 21 points. His 5th 20-point game of the season. Did not play at Michigan. Played against Illinois. 26 minutes, but he didn't score until the final couple of minutes of that ball game. He was 2 of 10 from the floor. A very different Dutchman here today. Extra pass, Davis, open look in rhythm. Bullet kicked it out.
Impressive, and you look at taking over here when Rutgers has tried to make that push, but he's got himself to the block. He's got the jump hook going.
Late in the shot clock. Bonalo on the floor for the first time
the next day, because everybody in the locker room knows, why'd you foul? Don't reach.
Now, if they miss 2 free throws, though, do you still have the same conversation?
No, yeah, absolutely. It's probably worse, to be honest.
Scarlet Knights have only been to the line 7 times. 3 for 7. Mast was lost. Missed on the rebound. Now 6:10 to go. Time starting to slip away. The Scarlet Knights with Tariq Francis back on the floor.
Only 10 points on the afternoon here, too.
All of those in the first half, but they found the freshman in the paint. Some good activity early here for Bonalo.
Well, and you look at Francis all in the first half, and again, started the game. When he started, he averages 11.5. When he comes off the paint, or off the bench, it's 20.3. We've all heard that. There's a great drive by Lawrence, but if you're Francis, how do you keep and stay engaged?
Inside the arc, a long rebound to Rink Mast.
Because for Francis, the numbers say it, right, Jason? Like off the bench, he scores more. But a lot of that, as a player, you just got to understand where the minutes and when they come are going to change. But I still have to be aggressive in attack mode all the time.
Different parts of the season too. He started the first 10 games of the year. He's come off the bench the last 13. Tariq Francis did get the start today. Frager, no. Mast tipped it home. 23 points and 8 rebounds.
That's a pretty good afternoon. But I love the way that he's been aggressive. He's been, and also you have to give Coach Hoiberg a lot of credit for early on in this game setting the tone and saying we're going to play through the post a little bit more than we have.
Francis showed the aggression.
For one of my kids' school events, it was not good. Not good at all.
I think Zdeno Chara would disagree. I might have checked in at 6'9",
well,
not 7 feet. I don't know.
Maybe you got to be an athlete. Since I'm not an athlete, maybe that's the difference. There's another great pass by Nebraska.
And Hoiberg's ability to just stop on a dime. Sandfort, I mean, the footwork, and that was something that Rutgers worked on in practice all day yesterday. You can hear it, you know it's coming, and then stopping, it's a different story.
Absolutely, and because it's the pace, I think. And the other part of this Nebraska team where they've been good, there you see friends trying to get involved here. But the last thing for this Nebraska team is, over the last 2 games that they lost, the physicality through, or the cutting through physicality, I don't know if it was always there. Here, they're cutting with a purpose. If they feel like there's contact, they're still going through it with great pace.
And it has not mattered who Rutgers threw at Rink Mass, whether it was a Bole or Buchanan or Grant. That one he kind of just threw up there, did not hit the rim. And at least by seed to win that first NCAA tournament game.
Should I go down a limb here and say I think they're going to win their first NCAA tournament game? Is that all right to say that?
I mean,
I'll go on a limb.
You're not putting any more pressure on them than they will already have.
Absolutely. No, this basketball team is really good, and they're fun to watch. We've talked a lot about how they share the ball and play together, but defensively, we haven't talked nearly enough about what they do on that end as well to make it very difficult on teams with the schemes that they run and how they run them and the togetherness that they show on the defensive end as well.
And they've led this ball game for all of it except for 1 minute and 3 seconds. And the other part to it, too, it was a 14-point game at the half. And Rutgers has not gotten closer than 13 here this afternoon in the second half. Branson. Now the schedule starts to change, too, for Rutgers. So they've had such a difficult stretch in the heart of January and February. But they'll start to see some of the teams that are at least near where they are in the standings here the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, they've got Maryland, Penn State, Minnesota, Washington, Maryland, Michigan State, Penn State to finish. So, again, the growth, the development of their young players, and working, continuing to how to get better on that defensive end.
How will he look like? He missed the game. He wasn't healthy against Illinois. How does he get back to himself? And that has played out this afternoon.
Well, it's played out, but it's also been a focal point of Coach Hoiberg early in the game. And I think that's so important to understand, hey, we've got to get Rink going a little bit. Here's a way to do it. We know he wants to get to the block, do different things. And sure enough, that's what he was able to do.
45% three-point shooter. And all offseason, they said he was their best player in practice. It just never translated in season yet.
And again, everything takes time, especially, when you talk about just the transition from overseas to America, what needs to happen, how that the game's a little bit faster. It's more physical overseas than necessarily here in America, but the game's faster here in America than it is overseas. So that makes your decision-making become faster.
And with the shot clock, Sandfort released. Final 100 seconds here this afternoon. Huskers have led by double figures the entire second half. Another turnover. That's been a problem today. 15 for Rutgers.
It really has. I mean, that's been when you've looked at this team defensively in that first half, they were pretty good, but there was a stretch there where they had 4 or 5 turnovers in a row. And then you could see Nebraska start to get into their flow a little bit more offensively. And when you're this Rutgers team, you can't have that many turnovers and expect to be in a game.
One more time, and he's fouled. 8 rebounds. Just a massive performance here on the road to carry Nebraska.
Now make sure you take care of what you're supposed to take care of. And that might be tougher because this group hasn't necessarily been in that situation before.
Final minute, Bolus on the inside, and the entire bench was ready to explode. He had not scored since the opener of the season, and they were ready for that. Francis has 16 now, 6 of 15 from the floor.
And to close my last thought on that, I think this group is mature enough to handle that.
Alvarado steal, he floats it in. It's a 10-point game, so a little bit of fight here down the stretch. It's the closest that Rutgers has been the entire second half. And Jacobson's fouled.